In the time after the Great Flood, when Noah's descendants began to spread across the earth, humanity was still united. They spoke one common language, and this unity gave them strength. They journeyed eastward and found a broad, fertile plain in the land of Shinar. It was here that they chose to settle, and from this decision, a grand and dangerous ambition was born. The people said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." Using these bricks and bitumen for mortar, they began their most ambitious project yet, a city with a tower that would reach to the heavens. Their aim was clear. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over the face of the whole earth. They sought to create something that would stand forever, a monument to their own greatness. But this wasn't just a construction project. It was a statement of defiance. God had commanded humanity to fill the earth, to spread out and multiply. But instead, they chose to remain in one place, unified by their own desires. Their tower was not merely an architectural marvel, it was a symbol of their pride and self-sufficiency. They believed that they could reach heaven by their own strength, that they could control their own destiny without needing God. It was humanity's first attempt at collective rebellion since the flood. A rebellion born not from violence or war, but from arrogance and ambition. The tower grew higher and higher, as did their confidence. They believed that nothing could stop them. As they worked together in perfect unity, they thought they were building a bridge to the divine, a way to elevate themselves above the earth and secure their place among the gods. But what they failed to understand was that no human effort, no matter how grand or unified, could ever challenge God's authority. Their desire to make a name for themselves was rooted in pride. And pride, as we see time and time again in the Bible, leads to downfall. God, seeing their hearts and intentions, decided to intervene. He came down to observe their city and their tower. Though they believed they were reaching up to heaven, it was God who descended to deal with their rebellion. He saw that, united in language and purpose, there was nothing they could not achieve, including disobedience and rebellion on a global scale. And so, God acted not out of wrath, but out of wisdom and mercy, to prevent humanity from spiraling deeper into prideful disobedience. God said, "Let us go down and confuse their language, so that they will not understand one another." In an instant, their unity was shattered. Where there was once clarity and cooperation, now there was only confusion and chaos. Workers who had once communicated easily could no longer understand each other. Instructions were misunderstood. Orders went unheeded, and the construction ground to a halt. The very thing that had made them strong, their language, was now taken from them, and without it, their project was doomed to fail. Unable to complete the tower or the city, the people were scattered across the earth, just as God had originally intended. The grand tower, which was meant to reach the heavens, was left unfinished, a monument not to human achievement, but to human folly. They had sought to elevate themselves to defy God's command, but in the end, they could not escape His authority. The city was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From this act of confusion, the various languages and nations of the world were born. The story of the Tower of Babel is a profound lesson about the dangers of pride and self-reliance. The people of Babel thought they could reach God on their own terms, that they could build something that would make them immortal. But in their pride, they ignored the one thing that truly mattered: obedience to God. When we try to elevate ourselves above God, we will always be brought low. Their unity, instead of being used for good, became a tool for rebellion, and it ultimately led to their downfall. But there is also a deeper symbolism in the story. The tower represents human attempts to reach heaven, to ascend to God by our own efforts. This is the essence of pride, to believe that we don't need God, that we can achieve greatness on our own. And just like the people of Babel, when we build our lives on pride and self-sufficiency, it leads to confusion, division, and failure. The story of Babel is a warning to us all. When we try to go our own way, apart from God, we end up lost and scattered. However, the story doesn't end in confusion forever. There is a moment in the Bible where God reverses the scattering of languages, bringing unity once again, but this time under His will. At Pentecost, after Jesus' resurrection, the Holy Spirit descended upon the disciples, and suddenly, people from all nations heard the gospel in their own languages. This miracle was the opposite of Babel. Where Babel brought confusion, Pentecost brought understanding. Where Babel scattered, Pentecost gathered people into one family under God. It was God's way of showing that true unity comes not through human effort, but through the power of His Spirit. The lesson of the Tower of Babel is timeless. It reminds us that pride separates us from God, while humility brings us closer to Him. We cannot build our way to heaven, but God, in His grace, comes down to us. He offers us a way to Him, not through towers or human achievement, but through faith, obedience, and the work of His Son, Jesus Christ. When we trust in God's strength, not our own, we find true success and lasting victory. So, what can we learn from the Tower of Babel? That victory is not found in human efforts or in numbers, but in surrender to God's will. Unity without God's purpose leads to confusion, but unity under His guidance brings true harmony. And most importantly, we must remember that no matter how high we try to build ourselves up, only through God's grace can we truly reach the heavens.